Thingkho Le Malcha by KSO Media and Documentation Cell. Issue number 72. Wednesday, 22 November 2023. Headlines. Kota's 48 hours shutdown ends. Indefendi eco-blockade to continue. ID left CC. Expressed nothing unconstitutional, says Kuki NP Chundel. Demands immediate withdrawal of FIR. KC left debunks Rowan Phylum's repeated lies. Manipur violence is a political problem. IT will stop if 4,000 looted weapons are recovered. LT Jin. RP Khalida. Mayday militant killed in Myanmar's TMU. Several injured. Truth of drug syndicate in Manipur. 3 peddlers arrested by Guwahati police. Apropos to Kata Mani. Kuki MLA's demand for separate administration is legitimate, constitutional. Kukizo students' educational right deprived. National medical and dental students' bodies raise concern on discrimination of Kukizo. Paying lip service to the sacrifices of our soldiers and the military. Thingkho Le Malcha. Relief Center Update. Bijang Lubuk School Relief Center. Zoving Lamka District. Managed by ZYO/UZO GHQ Relief Committee. Total inmates registered, 95. Male, 44. Female, 41. Kuki Victims Update AS on November 20, 2023. Deaths, 152. Villages burnt, 200 plus. Houses burnt, 7,000 plus. Churches and synagogues burnt, 360. Displaced persons, 41,425. Kota's 48 hours shutdown ends. Indefendi eco-blockade to continue. On the further course of action and the ongoing economic blockade after the 48-hour total shutdown in Manipur's Kangpokpi district imposed by the Committee on Tribal Unity ends today, its media cell coordinator, NG. Luan Kipjin said that the committee has 5 points to be addressed by the Union Home Minister Amit Shah within 5 days, failing which it would review its mode of agitation for a heavier stir. He said that the Union Home Ministry must address the non-reciprocity on essential items and medical supplies from the Valley to Kukizo areas, viz. Lamka, Tingnupal, and Kongwe. He continued that the biased resettlement of displaced Métis in Kukizo areas must also be addressed by the Union Home Ministry. He also said that apart from the selective security protection for Mayday farmers and the constitutional breach of diverting tribal developmental funds, the Union Home Ministry must also address the non-response to our demands for political separation. The 48-hour total shutdown in Manipur's Kangpokpi district imposed by the Committee on Tribal Unity, or the KOTU, Sadar Hills culminated this evening at 6 p.m. while its economic blockade along NH2 and NH37 is still underway. The Kukizo tribal body had imposed the 48-hour emergency total shutdown following the brutal killing of 2 innocent Kukizo, including an IRB personnel, in an ambush allegedly carried out by the valley-based insurgent groups. On November 20th morning, barely a month after the first fatal ambush in the same region by the same suspected bigs on September 12, killing 3 innocent Kukizo. The second day of KOTU's total shutdown witnessed a similar situation of a complete shutdown of shops, schools, and movement of vehicles along the NH2, the lifeline of Manipur. Volunteers were seen at various locations enforcing the total shutdown. However, there was no report of any untoward incident till the culmination of the shutdown at 6 p.m. as the vehicular movement began again after 6 p.m. in the evening along National Highway 2. Amid the ongoing total shutdown and economic blockade, KOTU also organized a protest today at Haokip along National Highway 2, drawing the attention of the central government and placed several points to the Union Home Ministry to be addressed within 5 days. The protest also conveyed the discontentment of the Kukizo people against the brutal killing of 2 innocent Kukizo. The protesters, mostly Kukizo womenfolk, chanted slogans such as, "We demand CBI inquiry, we want justice, we demand separate administration," etc. Speaking to the media, KOTU's media cell coordinator, NG. Luan Kipjin said that the November 20th ambush taking 2 innocent Kukizo precious lives was the second fatal ambush carried out by the disguised valley-based insurgent groups in the region, donning state forces camouflage, armed with sophisticated weapons. Videos and images of the bigs celebrating with a feast after committing the crime are available in the public domain, he added. He said that if any Kukizo can be arrested on grounds of mere suspicion without any concrete evidence, then those suspects deserve immediate conviction. Our trust in the law and upon the central government is waning day by day, he asserted, before adding that if this system goes any longer, it will be a mockery of our democratic and constitutional values. He also maintained that the Prime Minister must not let the minorities be a mere sacrificial lamb for the majority community. He further said that the union government must think beyond electoral politics and look into the sentiments of the minorities, while adding that as our patience is running out, the constant subjugation will only lead to unwanted consequences in the coming days. Are we lesser Indians to have the CBI and NIA to take up our cause? Asked the KOTU media cell coordinator. He then urged the Prime Minister and also the Union Home Minister to take up the cases of the Kukizo and not to give a stepmotherly treatment. ID left CC expressed nothing unconstitutional, says Kuki Inpi Chundel, demands immediate withdrawal of FIR. The words expressed by Muin Tuming, Secretary Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, IDLF, is the voice of the suppressed Kukizo people seeking justice within the purview of the Indian Constitution and nothing unconstitutional. Said the Kuki Inpi Chundel on Wednesday. The Kuki Inpi Chundel is appalled at the filing of an FIR against the General Secretary of IDLF. Muin Tuming by the OC of Chirachandpur Police Station on November 18, 2023 with regard to his speech on self-governance for the Kuki Zo tribals in Manipur, it said. In a statement, the apex body of Kuki tribes in Chundel district said since the outbreak of the conflict on May 3, hundreds of innocent Kukizo civilians have been murdered, and even those who survived were chased out of the state capital and its periphery with no possibility of returning to their homes. While Meitei civil societies declared war on Kukizo tribals, the state government openly sided with the Meitei community, and the Manipur police commandos have been spearheading attacks on Kukizo villages, it said. KIC said. All Kukizo MLAs and government employees can no longer reach Imphal, the Valley of Death, and are unable to perform their constitutional duties. It noted that the Kukizo tribals have not received any help from the state government. Even the aids from the central government like medicine, food, and other essential items are routed through Mizoram as Meitei mobs continue to block any material from reaching Kukizo tribal areas. The Kukizo tribals are unable to access highways and airport of the state. As it is evident, the government of Manipur is no longer for the Kukizo tribals. In view of the above facts, the Kuki body continued, the people are compelled to demand a political solution in the form of a separate administration from Manipur under the ambit of the Indian Constitution. While the Kukizo tribals are waiting for the central government to work out the modalities of the political solution, we need to govern ourselves so that our lawmakers and government servants can continue performing their constitutional duties. It added. The Kuki Inpi Chundel also mentioned that FIRs have been filed against the Kukizo leaders and intellectuals in an attempt to silence the voice of minority Kukizo people. The charges against IDLF General Secretary are baseless, unwarranted, and part of a conspiracy to derail the political solution for the Kukizo tribals, it said, strongly condemning the charges leveled against Muin Tuming. The Kuki Inpi Chundel demanded immediate withdrawal of the FIR against him unconditionally. KC Left debunks Rowan Philom's repeated lies. Vehemently reacting over the repeated misleading information peddled by one pseudo-Christian called Rowan Philom, the Kuki Christian Leaders Fellowship, KCLF, on Tuesday issued a press note to clarify various false allegations leveled against the Kukis by him at various platforms. The KCLF in a statement said that one evangelist, Rowan Philom, has been spreading false allegations at different platforms, including the Press Club of Tiruvananthapuram, that the Kukis burned down Meitei churches and also bought arms and ammunitions with the relief supports given by people in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Although, in the video footage, he appears to have done this to pacify the repeated unlawful armory lootings in the valley, his false allegations have confused the public and hence hinders the peace process, it said. The KCLF has conducted spot inquiry and verified that none of the Meitei churches in the hills are destroyed until today, and the ones destroyed in the valley were done not by the Kukis. The same has been clarified recently by the Manipur Evangelical Lutheran Church, MELC, besides that of Rev. Simon Raume, the president of All Manipur Christian Committee, and others whose names cannot be mentioned here for their security reasons. KCLF further stated that Mr. Philom's allegation of relief funds being in the wrong hands to buy arms and ammunitions, as he claims, smears both the donors and the recipients and also paints a wrong picture of Christianity in India when many have already suffered because of such wrong understandings. TLM views, it is a well-known fact that a pathological liar, Mr. Rowan Philom, is a self-styled acting activist who professed Christianity without compunction. He toured various corners of the country using his Christianity card to blazon his vested agenda by spreading false information. However, how hard he tries, no one buys his lies. Earlier, the Kangpokpi Town Church's Fellowship had also clarified the unfounded and misleading information spread by Rowan Philom. His tall claim of Meitei Christian churches being razed to the ground by the Kukis were also debunked with evidential proof and photos, baseless allegations devoid of any factual scenario. Manipur violence is a political problem. IT will stop if 4,000 looted weapons are recovered. LT Jin. RP Kalida. The commanding officer of the Army's Eastern Command on Tuesday said ethnic violence in Manipur will stop after 4,000 firearms looted from security forces in the state are recovered. Speaking to journalists at a program organized by the Guwahati Press Club, Lieutenant Gen Rana Pratap Kalita said the Manipur conflict was a political problem, and the armed forces have been focused on containing the violence and motivating the warring communities to take the route of peaceful resolution. The Indian Army's aim initially was to carry out rescue and relief operations for people displaced from their homes, he said. Thereafter, we have been trying to contain the violence and motivate people to accept a peaceful resolution. But because of the polarization between the two communities, Métis and Kukis, sporadic incidents are continuing, Lieutenant Gen Kalita said, insisting that Manipur's problem can be resolved politically. He said legacy issues among the three communities, Métis, Kukis, and Nagas, have been a factor behind several conflicts in Manipur over 4 decades. What has happened now is that the two communities have become completely polarized. Although the level of violence has come down, more than 5,000 weapons taken from various police stations and other places are still in people's hands, he said. Only about 1,500 of these weapons have been recovered. Till the time the remaining 4,000 weapons are out in society, this sporadic violence will continue, he added. Mayday militant killed in Myanmar's TMU, several injured. Democratic forces in TMU Township District reportedly attacked the camp of Myanmar Army and its militia groups in Myothit Subtownship this morning. In the attack, one Mayday militant was killed and several others were injured in the incident. The deceased person is said to be one Naorim Naucha at Ko, son of Naorim Kala and Naorim Pishik of Yairapok Top Laikai, Impul West. Sources said that combined forces of pro-democracy groups had launched an attack on the Myanmar Army and its militia groups in the general area of Nan village under Myothit Subtownship in the Upper TMU district. The Nan village in Myanmar is close to Myothit, Nongketcha, and Mindar. It is located in between India, Myanmar boundary pillar number 91 to 96. Wanli, Namli, Zikaro, Kompak Kulin. Skype and Pilong villages in Manipur's Kamjong district are some of the villages on the Indian side of the border. Mention may be made that on November 8, 2023, the villagers of Ivanjang came to learn about the infiltration of Meitei militants from Myanmar into the Indian soil with the collusion of a Meitei commanding officer of one Assam Rifles posted at Salin village, Kangjoy Sub Division in Chundel district. The infiltrators were later reportedly brought to Impul.it. Is noteworthy that for many decades, Myanmar has been used as the hideout place for Meitei militants. These Meitei militants wage war against the Union of India and cross-border terrorism. There are several instances of attacks and ambush on Indian security personnel by Meitei militants. The militants in their demand to secede from the Union of India have been waging war against central forces and boycotting holidays of national importance, thereby posing a threat to national integrity of India. However, with the dawn of democratic movement in Myanmar and the rise of democratic forces, the Meitei militants have been siding the junta forces so that they have refuge under their wings, which prompted them to launch war against democratic forces in Myanmar. This has led to mass infiltration of Meitei militants illegally into Indian border. The Meitei militants who sneak into Indian territory were later engaged in waging war against the Kukis in Manipur. These militants masqueraded as Manipur Police Commando, holding sophisticated weapons and often engaged in a shootout with Kuki village volunteers in the buffer zone area. There are substantial evidences of the proscribed Meitei militant group's involvement in the ongoing Manipur violence. Truth of Drug Syndicate in Manipur. 3 peddlers arrested by Guwahati police. A team of crime branch along with a team from Dispur police station had raided a hideout at Purvanchal Path near downtown area, Guwahati, Assam, and recovered 24 soapboxes with approximately 280 grams of suspected heroin. 3 peddlers from Manipur, namely James Hinga, 33, from Senapati, Nikhil Limapakpam, 30, from Impul West, and Junaid Ahmed, 28, from Impul West, were arrested, and as per the claims of the Guwahati police on its X handle, a legal action has been initiated. Truth of Drug Syndicate in Manipur. The topic of drug syndicate in Manipur is relevant in the deep divide of Manipur. Why is it relevant? Because one particular community has been labeled as drug peddlers, narco-terrorists, the whole producers and operators of drug syndicate in Manipur. Several people were killed due to this fake narrative, whereas the figures reveal a different story altogether. Do drug peddlers have to be identified as Chin Kuki, Naga, or Meitei Pangal? This has been done to the whole Kuki community, though the community stands firmly against drugs. The poor Kukizo farmers are just maligned and made to bear the cross as narco-terrorists, and the narrative has been weaponized to target the whole community without sparing the politicians. bureaucrats, and even pastors. As per estimate of UN, the Office of Drugs and Crimes, an estimated size of drugs in Manipur is more than 70,000 crore rupees, which is more than double the total Manipur GDP. Though few of Kukizo community have been known to cultivate opium for the past few years, but considering that opioid-based drug business in Manipur is just 30% of the entire syndicate, what about the rest 70%? There is another aspect of it. As per the data revealed by the government of Manipur, a total of 2,518 people were arrested between 2017 and 2023 under Narcotics, Drugs, and Psychotropic Substances (NDPS) Act in the state, out of which a whopping 1,464, more than 58%, were Meitei, 1083 were Meitei Pangals, and 381 were Meiteis, 873 were Kukizo, 35%, and 181, 7%, were from other communities. The figures put the majority community itself under question. A large number of chemical drug factories were busted in Lilong and Sara, the areas dominated by Meitei Pangals, in the past, and huge recoveries were made. The way drug business has increased manifold in the border state in last few years. There is a high possibility that Thaunajam Brinda, a former police officer, is right. Her affidavit in the court testified the involvement of top political leaderships of Manipur, including N. Biren Singh himself. Without the active involvement of higher-ups in the administrative hierarchy, such huge size of drug syndicate would not prosper. If the central government is really serious about cracking down on drug business in Manipur, they need to target the organized cartels first. The only way to successfully fight against drugs is to identify the individuals in their network, and not to generalize them based on their communities. Apropos to Keita Mani, Kuki MLA's demand for separate administration is legitimate, constitutional. Former acting chairperson of Manipur Human Rights Commission, MHRC, Keita Mani on November 21 wrote a letter to DEGP, Manipur, seeking appropriate legal action on Suwamoto against the 10 Kukizo MLAs, including 2 cabinet ministers of the BJP-led government, stating that they have committed illegal and communal activities while being part and parcel of the existing government of Manipur. The letter stated that during the course of a legal demand and commission of illegal acts, they have not so far tendered any resignation from the cabinet ministership and membership of Manipur Legislative Assembly. Notably, the 10 Kuki MLAs had submitted a representation to the union government on May 12, demanding a separate administration for the Kukizo community in the state. They expressed that they have lost faith in the state government and the majority community. However, the recent call for a separate entity in Manipur is primarily driven by the Kukis' urgent need to safeguard their welfare and security in response to a significant existential threat. Unlike the demands of neighboring communities like the Meiteis and the Nagas, the Kukizo's aspiration does not pose a challenge to the idea of India. The current demand might not have arisen if not for the substantial threats posed by the Meitei community. Article 3 of the Constitution stated that the power to effect changes in a state's boundary lies with the parliament. This provision grants unilateral power to the center to alter state boundaries. A well-learned person in the form of Keita Mani, who once acted as the acting chairperson of Manipur Human Rights Commission, must be very much aware of the legalities behind the demands put forth by the 10 Kuki MLAs. The MLAs, like any other Indian citizen, have their own constitutional rights to put up a demand unless it does not breach the very idea of India. Making demand through constitutional medium does not define one's action as illegal. Whatever the demand is, the ball is in the union government's court. There is nothing illegal or unconstitutional. Keita Mani's demand for taking legal action against the 10 Kuki MLAs, who were just exercising their constitutional rights, is thus absurd and illogical. In a legal context, Suwamoto is the term often used to describe a situation where a court or other authority takes action without being prompted or requested to do so by another party. A court may take Suwamoto action if it becomes aware of a legal violation or other issue that needs to be addressed, even if no party has formally brought the matter to its attention. Similarly, a government agency may take Suwamoto action to investigate a potential violation of regulations or laws. However, in the case of 10 Kuki MLAs demanding separate administration, there is no case of legal violation. The demand put forth by the 10 MLAs is legitimate and constitutionally binding. Kukizo students' educational right deprived. National medical and dental students' bodies raise concern on discrimination of Kukizo. N. Biren Singh-led BJP government has been well known for deliberately violating the constitutional or human rights of the minority Kukis on multiple occasions, ranging from right to life, freedom of expression, educational rights, tribals or minority rights, etc. The latest being a gross violation of human rights to education meted out to the Kukizo medical students, debarring them from appearance in the first-year final examinations. Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says, "Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit." However, the Kuki's medical students were deprived of their educational rights and deliberately discriminated against by the concerned authority only on the basis of their ethnicity, which amounts to a total disregard of human rights and laws. Even though the National Medical Commission had written its no objection for the displaced students for appearing in the university examination from parent college or from a different college, the Manipur University still failed to address the grievances of the displaced tribal students. While their fellow students happily wrote the examination on November 21st, the displaced tribal students took to the streets in protest against the university's decision to bar them from giving the exam. Have the constitutional or human rights of minority Kukis been underprivileged in Manipur? Why are the medical students deprived of their examination just because they belong to the minority group? Where is humanity? Where is justice? As is done for the Meitei student community, the Kuki's student community has every right to fulfill their dreams and become promising doctors. The Kuki's students have every right and reason to be heard as much as the students of majority Meitei and Impole Valley, who have been given the privilege to go ahead with their studies and appear in their examinations. The double-engine governments must keep the political whataboutery away from the educational section and should listen to the tribal community's grievances to provide the best solution acceptable to all, raising concerns. The All India Medical Students Association AIMSS has said that the first-year dental students who were supposed to give their university exam on November 14th were given assurance that the question papers would reach them on time from Impole. Exam forms and exams fees were filled up and submitted. But to their dismay, they came to learn that the question paper were never sent, which they came to realize inside the exam hall while waiting for the question paper. Majority CMC students who are displaced to NIMS are given the privilege to give their university exam, but the minority displaced students Kukizo from RIMS, NIMS, and SHS, despite the assurance given to them, were not issued admit card and not allowed to give their first-year final university exam. "This is not the first time we were given assurance," the association said on its microblogging site handle. Taking to X, formerly Twitter, the All India Dental Students Association, Denodontics, said, "Impole papers missing for dental students. CMC at NIMS advanced, but Kuki's students from RIMS, NIMS, SHS denied admit cards, barring final exam. Recurring injustice persists, revealing systemic disparity. Paying lip service to the sacrifices of our soldiers and the military. There is conventional wisdom, and then there is the truth, and as the Chinese love to say, seek truth from facts. The conventional wisdom asserts that Prime Minister Narendra Modi loves soldiers and will go to any length to back the armed forces. The impression generated is that there hasn't been another leader who has cared more for the soldiers and loved the military more. It flows from Modi's hypernationalist rhetoric and his image of a populist strongman, who would have a natural affinity for masculine pursuits of warfare and its exponents. The popular narrative is buttressed by some Hindi films, OTT web series, YouTube stars, and television documentaries, even if you discount the onslaught of the infamous IT cell on social media, that emanate from a specific ideological outlook feeding on a partisan political agenda. The facts are somewhat different and most starkly obvious in Manipur, the sensitive border state that has been aflame for 6 months despite being ruled by, in Modi's parlance, a double-engine government since 2017. That the PM has no time for the state, which has destabilizing effects on the whole region, is ominous. But we are examining a different question here, the treatment of soldiers. Meitei mobs and militia groups, with tacit, if not overt, support of the BJP state government, have been targeting the Indian Army and the Assam Rifles with no consequences so far. A militant who killed 18 Indian soldiers in an ambush in 2016 was released by the soldiers under pressure from local crowds organized by Mira Paibi, where a BJP MLA was reportedly present. Meitei groups and BJP leaders have issued statements targeting Assam Rifles, which is led by army officers at all levels. They have held placards with slogans such as "Go Back Assam Rifles" and "Stop Using Indian Security Forces Against Meitei." These groups had the audacity to meet Defense Minister Rajnath Singh and demand withdrawal of Assam Rifles from the state. The BJP chief minister assured Mira Paibi that Assam Rifles would indeed be withdrawn. The state cabinet ordered the replacement of Assam Rifles with the local police to man a crucial border checkpoint. It doesn't end there. There are videos showing Manipur police pointing weapons at soldiers and threatening to shoot them. The state police have filed FIRs against Assam Rifles soldiers for shielding Kuki narco-terrorists after the Meitei-dominated police was stopped from going to Kuki areas. Neither have the furs been withdrawn till date, nor has the state government been publicly censured by the sinners so far. This kind of contempt for soldiers has not been seen in independent India in any state, that too without any consequences for those disrespecting and dishonoring the army. Manipur has a BJP government, and Modi happens to be the all-powerful leader of the party. The CM and his government cannot remain in their seat even for a day if Modi doesn't want that. But no marching orders have been issued. Evidently, a strong leader like Modi doesn't care for how our soldiers have been treated by his party's government in Manipur. The Modi government's record on many sensitive issues related to soldiers is no better. Take the case of disability pension for soldiers. In 2016, based on suspicious data provided to the 7th Pay Commission, disability benefits of the military were reduced. After protests, a committee of secretaries deprecated the reduction and restored the benefits with the Union Cabinet's approval. In 2023, the same data has been used again to strike at death and disability benefits of soldiers, giving uniformed personnel even lower benefits as impairment relief than their civilian counterparts in the government. In the past, if a disability was endured or aggravated due to military service, disability pension was extended to ex-servicemen unless it was caused due to their own negligence. This was irrespective of the area of posting where the incident occurred. Personnel of the Central Armed Police Forces are also entitled to those benefits. In the new rules, the invalid pension is applicable to soldiers who have completed 10 years of service, a condition that was removed for civilian government employees in January 2019. Another example is the recruitment of soldiers on a short-term contractual basis under the Agnipath scheme on fixed payment and no pensionary benefits. When an Agnivir, short-term contractual soldier, recently died in an operational area in Siachen, it brought to light the grave anomaly in the death/disability benefits of those recruited under the new scheme. Unlike regular soldiers, his family was not entitled to any pension. Ironically, as advocate Navdeep Singh highlighted, the family of a temporary trainee civil employee, even if he died in an accident on getting drunk while on leave or by suicide, would be entitled to family pension, but not the family of this Agnivir battle casualty in Siachen. These are the more obvious examples, but there are many others. The Modi government did not do the 5-year Oropi fixation for retired soldiers in 2019 and, despite being compelled by the Supreme Court, has delayed the payment of arrears. The battles over recommendations of the 7th Pay Commission and non-functional upgradation were also fought with the same government, without much success. Unless the senior military brass miraculously develops a spine and the mainstream Indian media starts doing journalism instead of government propaganda, soldiers should be prepared for more setbacks to their status, standing in rights under the current regime. But there is something that the military community can also do. If it does not wish to be taken for granted, it should not become the captive vote or propaganda arm of any leader or party. That's the power they hold in a democracy. First published by Deccan Herald.